Good evening. The top stories in the news tonight. Employers meet to ensure that workers are able to keep their jobs amid the current economic crisis. President Estrada declares his support for Defense Secretary Orly Mercado in his running feud with generals. The government signs a new accord with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front in Sultan Kudarat. Later in Headliners, we'll have a report on two men convicted and meted the death penalty for robbery with homicide.
This portion is brought to you by DHL USA First. For more information, call 831-8888 or your nearest DHL service center nationwide.
The Employers Confederation of the Philippines wants workers to keep their jobs in support of President Estrada's poor program of government. A business forum was held today, after which ECOP's recommendations were presented to the president. More on the forum for job preservation from Cara Javier.
The escalating unemployment level in the country today prompted concerned employers and powerful businessmen to come up with damage control measures to keep the Philippines from spiraling towards a recession. Influential businessmen and industry leaders gathered at the New World Renaissance Hotel for an all-day workshop aimed at producing better labor policies to prevent the retrenchment of thousands of workers. Employers Confederation of the Philippines President Miguel Varela said he does not foresee the occurrence of more labor mass actions in the last 2 quarters of the year due to the ECOP's continuous communication with major labor organizations. Varela said the labor sector is aware of just how quickly the country could tumble into a recession.
We want to cushion the impact. Now, we don't know how long this Asian crisis will continue. No? It might last, some say it might last 2 years or even 3. So if this continues, then you can just imagine the unemployment figures might still go up.
To agree. Labor Undersecretary Felicissimo Joson agrees that measures have to be put in place to control the labor sector's precarious condition.
If it will not be stopped, the uptrend of these rates, then we will have a deeper problem, which the Business Forum termed recession.
ECOP is set to recommend the immediate review of the labor code to make it more consistent with the times. Joson said the Labor Department has been looking at the possible changes to be made as early as last year. Aside from amendments to the labor code, ECOP plans to put up safety nets for employees and employers alike. And the business sector agrees that during a crisis, sacrifices must be made by both management and labor to save jobs and save companies. With cameraman Boy Santasera, Cara Javier, RPN News.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas supports the government's plan to borrow $600 million from local banks through the Foreign Currency Deposit Unit. Bangko Sentral Governor Gabriel Singson said FCDU loans are needed since revenues expected from tax collections will not come until next year. Economics professor Solita Monsod also expressed support for the move, but she warned against high foreign exchange rates. In the same forum, Singson denied that the BSP intervened in the forex market by selling dollars.
But it is our role. I mean, that is precisely what killed.
What do you mean by indirectly intervening? We are not selling dollars, whether directly or through conduit banks. And I am willing to execute an affidavit to that effect.
Meron excess lending capacity ang mga bangko. Ayaw nilang magpahiram eh. Right? So, kung may excess lending capacity, miski humiram ka sa kanila, hindi tataas ang interest rates because they have excess supply.
Finance officials told members of Congress today that the government will borrow $1 billion in 2 tranches to cover huge budget deficits this year and in 1999. More from Myla Reyes.
The debates in Congress about the budget focuses on the budget deficit. Congressmen want the government to further reduce the 17 billion peso deficit for next year. But the government is saying that the deficit is here to stay. After all, these are trying times. Finance Secretary Edgardo Espiritu told the Committee on Appropriations that the government is borrowing $1 billion in 2 tranches.
Yung $500 million ang pinaplano namin for this year, gagamitin ito sa pump priming. In other words, this will go directly to low-cost housing and agriculture, particularly in the area of infrastructure for agriculture.
Aside from funding agricultural projects, the first $500 million also partially resolves the 40 billion peso budget deficit this year, including 104 million pesos in accounts payable to the GSIS and the DPWH, among others. National Treasurer Leonor Briones said the loan will come from different sources.
Originally, 500 million will be borrowed from the sa bond market, itong bond flotation, and the other 500 million will be borrowed from the European market. But right now, the Secretary is having second thoughts of proceeding with the first 500 million na dito sa bond market because the interest and the spread is too high. So the alternative is to raise it locally from foreign banks.
The finance chief said borrowing $1 billion overseas is preferable to borrowing from local sources. This way, Espiritu said the government won't compete with local businesses for money and banks can keep interest rates down. If the government does not borrow, government officials said the alternative is a recession. For RPN News, Myla Reyes.
Senators Juan Ponce Enrile and Raul Roco are against the administration's deficit spending plan. Enrile said the proposed budget should be cut instead to trim down the budget deficit.
To look at their proposal. If the proposal is a sound proposal, maybe we will consider it, but I do not know what they are going to propose to us.
What we should do, really, is what the Constitution says. You must encourage private enterprise to be the engine of growth. Private enterprise must spend. Hindi gobyerno.
The Leaguer Defense Secretary Orlando Mercado drew support from the President today in his running feud with retired and active generals of the armed forces. This support came as businessmen called attention to the way coup rumors are hurting the economy. Details with Alwin Alburo.
Declaring that soldiers have rights to criticize, President Joseph Estrada today defended beleaguered Defense Secretary Orlando Mercado in the light of the latter's world war with retired generals. Mercado's war with the generals, members of the Association of Retired Generals and Flag Officers, stemmed from the DND Secretary's accusation that some military officials were involved in anomalies in the Retirement Separation and Benefit System, or RSBS. Presidential spokesman Jerry Barican also announced Estrada welcomed the military's willingness to investigate some of its members. Barican added Estrada has reset tomorrow's meeting of the generals with Mercado until next week after the latter's arrival from Jakarta.
We respect the constitutional right of retired military officers to issue statements to the public. We believe that they share our interest in settling any suspicion or allegation regarding the matter of RSBS.
Mercado threatened to quit his post should Estrada side with the generals. In an interview with a local radio station, Mercado, who is now in Bangkok, said he was merely interested in instituting reforms in the military and does not care about the rank and stature of his opponents. Mercado said he is determined to push his investigation of the RSBS and other AFP financial firms no matter what. Meanwhile, AFP Chief of Staff Joselina Sereno denied there was a rift between Mercado and the generals.
I am making an arrangement. Hindi ko pa malaman.
Sa office niya?
No, hindi. Doon I will go to them. I will tell them that I love all of them.
The Makati Business Club also urged Mercado to straighten up coup d'etat rumors, which is said to be hurting the economy.
Reacting to something which may not be existent is a foolish exercise. It's the responsibility of the defense establishment, especially the office of the secretary, to straighten that out.
Bohol Solon Ernesto Herrera agrees with the businessman, calling also for Malacanang's intervention, if only to negate any threat in undermining the government's economic stability. Alwin Alburo, RPN News.
The feud between the defense chief and AFP generals also drew an opinion from former President Fidel Ramos, who disclosed his travel plans to newsmen. Ramos is traveling to 8 countries next month, as Martin Crisostomo tells us.
Even after stepping down from the highest post in the land, former President Ramos still lives up to his image as the country's #1 tourist. In a media conference this morning, Ramos announced he would travel to 8 countries in the first week of September. He said he would have 9 speaking engagements, the first of which will be in Okinawa, Japan. Among the other countries that Ramos is scheduled to visit are Singapore, Hungary, United Arab Emirates, Finland, Mexico, Spain, and Australia. Ramos stressed his trip intends to sell the Philippines to foreign investors and sponsors would foot the bill.
In this particular engagements that I have outlined, there's no mention about pay or emolument or bonus.
In the same press conference, the former state head gave his comment on Defense Secretary Orlando Mercado's ordered investigation of the cash-strapped retirement separation and benefit system of the military.
And in a problem-solving manner, dialogue with each other. And try to bridge whatever gaps of misunderstanding exist. The morale of the armed forces, the morale of the uniformed services that are at stake. And I'm sure that there is enough wisdom and professionalism in Secretary Mercado.
As for the power struggle in Subic, Ramos maintained his position to let the courts decide on the matter as he refused to take sides on the issue. Ramos reiterated his support to the Estrada government and stressed the importance of economic stability in the country's progress. With Alan Tugade and Boy Anunuevo, Martin Crisostomo, RPN News.
Formal peace talks will soon begin between the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. This follows the signing of an agreement in Sultan Kudarat today on human rights and general cessation of hostilities. Mario Awayan witnessed the signing ceremony.
Government negotiators won't allow controversial issues to derail the peace talks with the remaining Muslim separatist rebel group. GRP Chairman Orlando Soriano says the panel would not raise AFP's concern about the reported tactical alliance MILF has with the extremist group Abu Sayyaf. In a 2-page agreement signed today, both parties conceded to a peaceful settlement of political problems in central Mindanao.
We are expecting that in a month's time, once we resolve some of issues, so I can say madali naman yun eh, hindi naman malalaking issues, we will already start the peace talk.
Neutral.
Wala kayong kakapihan?
Walang kaming kakapihan. Pero against yan sa policy ng MILF, ang terrorist.
The agreement comes at a time when both parties have accused each other of violating the 1-month-old ceasefire agreement. Earlier this morning, AFP Chief of Staff Joselina Sareno received a briefing acknowledging the MILF threat as still the most serious in central Mindanao. But giving way to a more diplomatic way of engaging the rebels, Nazareno embraced his former enemies on the way to signing the agreement. Central to this afternoon's meeting was the possible repositioning of the former combatants further away from each other's controlled territories. Leaders present during the signing ceremony are one in saying that it was indeed a giant step in resolving the 20-year-old secessionist rebellion. With cameraman Lito Peregrino in Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao, Mario Awayan for RPN News.
This portion was brought to you by DHL USA First. For more information, call 831-8888 or your nearest DHL service center nationwide.
Dr. Columbus! Western land! Western land! Country!
For you. Your package from Hong Kong is here.
The first air express company to deliver from Asia to the U.S. introduces First. It's export made easy. First from DHL.
Coming up, another rally against the Visiting Forces Agreement.
We did it again. And we're proud to announce that RPN's primetime shows have garnered a total of 41 nominations for the 1998 Emmy Awards. The X-Files, 12 nominations. NYPD Blue, 8 nominations. Ally McBeal, 6 nominations. Chicago Hope, 5 nominations. The Practice, 4 nominations. Seinfeld, 4 nominations. Dharma and Greg, 1 nomination. And Millennium, 1 nomination. They're definitely the best of primetime TV, and you can watch them only here on RPN.
A protest rally against the RP-US Visiting Forces Agreement was staged today in front of the office of the Foreign Affairs Department. The protesting group, Bukluran sa Ikaunlad ng Sosyalistang Isip at Gawa or BISIG, accused the FA Secretary Domingo Siazon of defending American interests in the controversial agreement. The group charged that the Americans only want to train their soldiers in combat to enhance their foreign intervention capabilities. BISIG demanded that the U.S. nuclear-capable vessels be subjected to mandatory inspection by Filipino military experts. Nueva Ecija Governor Tomas Joson, his brother Mayor Mariano Cristino Joson, and 7 other accused in the 1995 murder of Cabanatuan City Mayor Honorato Perez are now out of detention, at least temporarily. They were released this morning after their petition for bail was granted, as we hear from this report filed by Ronnie Azurin.
It was a day of reckoning for Nueva Ecija Governor Tomas Joson III after Pasig City Regional Trial Court Judge Gregory Ong granted his petition for bail. His brother, Quezon Mayor Mariano Cristino de Joson, and 7 PNP officers involved in the case were also ordered released on bail. In the 18-page decision of Judge Ong, the prosecution failed to prove the guilt of the accused to be strong. The prosecution also failed to present its material witnesses during the trial. For each of the Joson brothers, a bail of 492,000 pesos was ordered, while 400,000 pesos was required from each of the officers. Joson said he would go back to his province to exercise his duties as governor.
Bilang halal na lingkod bayan, meron akong obligasyon na dapat kong gampanan para sa aking mga kalalawigan.
Joson's counsel attorney J.V. Bautista said they would continue with the trial to prove that his client is innocent.
We were able to prove during the course of the trial on the petition for bail that the evidence of guilt is not strong. So this is the first step in the in proving that Governor Joson and Mayor Joson and the other co-accused are innocent of the charges being.
The case dates back to 1995 when armed men ambushed Cabanatuan City Mayor Honorato Perez. The Joson brothers and their security men were arrested and charged with murder. Despite being detained, Joson ran for office and won the governorship. Out on bail, Joson said he would try to make amends with the Perez family.
Nakikita namin sa sambayanan na ubrang magkasundo-sundo. Basta mag-uusap lamang, hindi sa gabal itong mga pangyayaring ito upang magkasundo-sundo kami ng pamilya noong kabilang panig.
With cameraman George Tumundong, I'm Ronnie Azurin for RPN News.
2 jobless men who killed a policeman during a robbery attempt inside a passenger bus last year were sentenced to death today. Myla Reyes tells us the details.
It was the calm before the storm. The face of Reynaldo Viñalon quickly changed to sorrow upon learning that he had been sentenced to die by lethal injection. Reynaldo, along with Arnold De Vera, both of the Gat-Dagat and Nabotas, were found guilty this morning of robbery with homicide.
Hindi naman ginawa, pero Ba't ko nagawa ko, pwede.
Despite his denial, passengers aboard a jail transit bus traveling across Commonwealth Avenue last September 24 positively identified the two men. The convicts announced a robbery, but one of the passengers was a policeman, PO1 Joseph Liabe, who shot one of the convicts, Viñalon. Viñalon shot him back. The policeman died in the line of duty. There were 4 robbers, but only Viñalon and De Vera were caught in the hospital, where De Vera brought Viñalon, who was bleeding profusely. Quezon City Regional Trial Court Judge Diosdado Peralta explained why death and not just life imprisonment was imposed on the two.
There were 4 armed robbers. Now, if there are 4 armed persons committing a crime, under paragraph 6 of Article 14 of the Revised Penal Code, band, and a band consists of at least 4 armed men, is an aggravating circumstance.
One of the convicts' wife, Mrs. Johnny Viñalon, is now left with 4 children, including the one she brought to her husband's promulgation. But despite her sorrow, she admitted that even when her husband was around, life was not easy.
Dati namang nawala siya, wala nang bumubuhay sa amin, balit pakay nila kami nung tsahin ko.
With cameraman Ralph Ruñez, Myla Reyes, RPN News.
The nomination of Comelec Chairman Bernardo Pardo to the Supreme Court was hit today as a disaster of the first magnitude. The reaction came from Senator Aquilino Pimentel, who said Pardo should stay at the Comelec and cleanse its ranks first. The Judicial and Bar Council reportedly nominated Pardo and 3 others as Supreme Court justices. Pimentel said Pardo may only seek refuge at the High Court for his possible liabilities at the full body, which is currently rocked by controversies. But Senate President Marcelo Fernandez said Pardo may still face charges against him even he is already at the High Tribunal.
That to me will be a disaster of the first magnitude, and my intention's worth of advice is to keep Pardo where he is in the Commission on Elections.
Chairman Pardo is highly qualified together with the other nominees. I know all of them, and having worked with them in the past.
On the reported appointment of a son of the Chief Justice to the UCPB, Malacanang has clarified that Andres Narvasa Jr. will only be appointed to the sequestered bank after his father retires from office before presidential spokesman Jerry Barican issued the clarification. Senator Raul Roco had warned that the young Narvasa's appointment may violate a constitutional principle because the United Coconut Planters Bank is a key party in a coconut levy fund case pending at the Supreme Court. Senate President Marcelo Fernandez, however, opined that all Chief Justice Andres Narvasa has to do is to inhibit himself from the Coco Levy fund case. Roco said the appointment may violate the principle against loans and guarantees by government-owned banks to any member of the High Court.
To a member of the Supreme Court. When the son of the Chief Justice, government controlled, it is controlled. I'm not even saying it is government-owned, but it is right now under government control. The issue on whether coconut levy is private or public is pending with the Supreme Court. Where will the justice then go? Will he inhibit the Chief Justice?
If his appointment was extended or he was elected to the board because of his own merit and his qualifications, then, well, he deserves that appointment now. If the father is acting, well, if there is a case reaching the Supreme Court involving UCPB as a party, well, I think the proper thing to do, if I were in his place, would be to inhibit himself.
The President, however, has not yet finally decided to approve his appointment because he is fully aware of a potential conflict of interest. He is also aware that the Chief Justice is retiring on November 30. As such, the President is holding his decision for the time being and will make a final decision on the matter after the retirement of Chief Justice Narvasa.
The Airline Pilots Association of the Philippines has lost its bid to prevent Philippine Airlines from implementing its downsizing scheme. The National Labor Relations, citing forum shopping, dismissed ALPAP's petition for a temporary restraining order. Presiding Commissioner Lourdes Javier and Commissioner Tito Henilo stressed that ALPAP sought a TRO from the NLRC after it filed a similar petition with the Department of Labor and Employment. The third commissioner handling the case, Vicente Veloso, voted for a grant of ALPAP's petition for an injunction. The chief of the Presidential Task Force Against Organized Crime has tagged the Red Scorpion Group behind recent bank robberies and kidnapping activities in Metro Manila. Chief Superintendent Panfilo Lacson told the Makati Business Club that the RSG continued to operate even after the killing of its leader, Joey De Leon. Lacson said the group is responsible for the recent bank robberies in Caloocan City and Quezon City and the kidnapping of 2 wealthy Chinese businessmen also in Quezon City. He warned that the RSG is fully armed and is composed mostly of former policemen and soldiers. The Bank Administration Institute has sought a clarification from the Bureau of Internal Revenue on the implementation of the new fringe benefits tax. BIR Regional Director Antonio Ortega was at the Bayfield General Membership meeting this noon, during which he was told that the banking industry is confused about several points in the new tax law. Ortega admitted that the Revenue Office has to conduct more information campaign to enable taxpayers to fully understand the new tax scheme that took effect last January. He said the fringe benefits tax was designed to make tax collection more efficient.
Up ahead, the city government of Manila's problem with diggings.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, with 5 new enhancements to better help your child reach his full potential. ProMil, now enhanced with 5 nucleotides.
The Department of Public Works and Highways was blamed today for the traffic jam causing diggings in the streets of Manila. Mayor Lito Atienza voiced out his disgust in this morning's Newsmakers Forum at the Pan Pacific Hotel. The local executive pointed out that under the local government code, the DPWH must first ask approval from local government units before starting any project. Atienza lamented that the DPWH has not been coordinating with LGUs. He said he will now be more vigilant in the implementation of the said local government code provision. The Health Department says the possibility of spread of HIV-contaminated blood in blood banks and hospitals is nil. Dr. Criselda Abesamis of the DOH Voluntary Blood Donation Program explained that there are 3 stages a blood donor must strictly go through before he is able to sell his blood. She assured that the contaminated blood detected in 2 hospitals was not sold to the public. Health Secretary Felipe Estrada, for his part, belied the accusation of the Association of Blood Banks in the Philippines that the DOH orchestrated the controversy about a man who sold his HIV-contaminated blood. A CISCO-certified training center for engineers and technicians will soon be operational in the country. This was announced in a press conference by Training Partners, a training organization in networking and data communications in Asia. CISCO is the world's leading network equipment vendor. TP Managing Director Ko Si-hyung said they will soon introduce a training program known as the CISCO Career Certification, which is designed to meet the growing global demand for training computer networking experts.
On Crime Watch, 2 overseas contract workers were arrested after they allegedly killed a friend in Malate, Manila. Details with Richard Rivera.
52-year-old Amado Hayag and his brother Leopoldo were immediately arrested by responding elements of the Malate police after allegedly shooting to death Reynaldo Quinones. The 32-year-old victim was with the 2 brothers when alleged shooting occurred a few meters from the house of the suspects in Balingkit Street, Malate. Relatives of the victim said that an old grudge between Quinones and the suspects sparked the brutal killing.
Ang sinasabi nila, syempre, didepensahan nilang sarili nila. Sinasabi nila, komo daw nagwalado yung kuya ko. Paano magwawala doon ang kuya ko samantalang kaibigan niya yung may-ari ng parlor?
Senior Inspector Antonio Picadiso led a team of policemen in chasing the suspects who fled after the Tastardi murder. After the arrest, the suspects were subsequently mauled by an irate crowd.
Nung nahuli namin, maraming taong gustong pumatay sa kanya eh. Maraming humahabol eh.
A neighbor of both the victim and the suspects revealed to RPN News that the Hayag brothers might have planned or set up the killing for fear that the victim might file criminal charges against them after a previous stabbing incident involving both parties in which Quinones reportedly sustained a stab wound allegedly inflicted by Amado's brother Leopoldo Hayag. With cameraman Reynaldo Salvador and Greg Valdez, Richard Rivera, RPN News.
Quezon City police operatives are hunting down a laborer also for the murder of a friend. The subject of the manhunt was identified only as Bong, a laborer and supposed friend of security guard Dennis Octavio, who was found dead with a deep stab wound in the back. Octavio's body was found at a construction site on Maginhawa Street in UP Village. Homicide probers believe the security guard was a victim of robbery as his personal belongings and service firearm were missing. His friend Bong was said to be with him when he was killed.
This portion is brought to you by PLDT, touching lives.
Qualcomm Incorporated has unveiled its new 800 megahertz dual-mode CDMA digital phone. Qualcomm's Paul Jacobs said the Q phone is the industry's first code division multiple access digital phone to feature an internal antenna. The Q phone is a palm-sized folding phone that allows customers to seamlessly roam between 800 megahertz CDMA digital cellular and analog networks. Jacob said the Q phone series is upgradable to accommodate access to future wireless data and information services. This year's Toyota Bel Air's Auto Fair opened today at the Glorieta. The Auto Fair Plus 98 showcases the latest Toyota vehicles, including the Ultra's smart trailer that comes in 3 new models. A wide array of car accessories, products, and related services is also an exhibit. Among the highlights of the Auto Fair are special deals and packages being offered by the different exhibitors and sponsors for the buying public. Also being featured are new products considered breakthroughs in the car and accessories industry. The bears continue to lumber along in the market, with the big boys still unloading heavily, as analysts say they have been for the last 2 weeks. Bearish sentiment pushed the physics into a 5-day downtrend, losing 20 points. But things may not look as bad as they seem. Broker and former PSE Governor Irving Ackerman says prices have gone down to attractive levels for investors and bargains abound. The punters, on the other hand, Ackerman says, may not find the current scenario too appealing.
This portion was brought to you by PLDT, touching lives.
From then till now, one company has helped to bring our thoughts and feelings to life.
Hi, Mom. Congratulations. We're so proud of you. I miss you all. How's May? Hi, May.
PLDT, touching lives.
Health officials are alerting the public on the possible increase in the number of dengue cases in the country. This health alert is the offshoot of fears about the effects of La Nina, with the rainy season already at hand. Arlene Lim reports.
Since January, over 7,000 persons have contracted dengue. The Department of Health expects this number to go up fast during the height of the rainy season and when La Nina rages through massive flooding. The DOH even fears that from over 7,000, the number of cases could double, beating even the 1996 record of 14,648.
A few years ago, we had a big outbreak. 1996 was a big year for dengue, about slightly last year, and this one for 6 months per year.
Aside from fever, which is high grade, it lasts from 2 to 7 days. And there's a rash that can be easily observed by parents who are taking care of children.
The situation has not reached the level of an outbreak, but Manila, Caloocan, Valenzuela, and Quezon City still host the breeding grounds of dengue-carrying mosquitoes. San Pablo City in Laguna and San Antonio in Nueva Ecija are also hot spots. Hospitals now teem with patients who are mostly children. At any given time, the number of patients here at the San Lazaro is from 300 to 350. Now, this number is high, and as a matter of fact, a lot of patients have to share their single beds with other dengue victims.
Siguro pa ako sa mga nasukal doon. Kasi po yung bahay namin marami pong mga basura.
Usually masakit yung balakang dito. They have low back pain, and then yung fever nila, it will come and go. They call it the saddle back type of fever. They'll be febrile for 2 days, then after a day, mawawala yung fever niya, babalik siya ulit. Usually, the parents will tell us that nabinat yung patient.
There is no vaccine against dengue. Its treatment involves constant replacement of intravenous fluids. Dengue causes death when cure comes too late. With Rick Macalino and Ruel Tubong Banwa, Arlene Lim, RPN News.
This portion is brought to you by DHL USA First. For more information, call 831-8888 or your nearest DHL service center nationwide. This portion was brought to you by
Dr. Columbus! Western land! Western land!
for you. Your package from Hong Kong is here.
The first air express company to deliver from Asia to the U.S. introduces First. It's export made easy. First from DHL.
A broad sporadic mortar and artillery fire erupted between Lebanese guerrillas and Israeli forces a day after Katyusha rockets slammed into northern Israel. Fighting began as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu inspected the damage caused by the rocket attacks in the town of Kiryat Shimona. The Katyusha rocket bombardment followed the killing of Hossam Alamin, a leader of the military wing of the Shiite Amal militia. The new fighting in southern Lebanon has killed a member of the South Lebanese Army. Libya has accepted a proposal by Britain and the United States to try the two Lockerbie bombing suspects in the Netherlands. The Libyan Foreign Ministry's acceptance of the proposal was announced on state television. Under the plan, the two Libyans accused of setting off explosives on board Pan Am Flight 101 would be put on trial in The Hague before a panel of Scottish judges. The ministry statement gave no indication that Libya's acceptance of the plan would be conditional or when the trial might start.
This portion is brought to you by DHL USA First. For more information, call 831-8888 or your nearest DHL service center nationwide.
Next, the weather forecast, entertainment, news, and sports.
This week on Business Class, what does this cabinet member has to offer, especially about our energy situation?
As of the moment, we have surplus capacity. We have been successful in attracting new players, particularly the private sector, in entering into the power industry.
Energy Secretary Mario Chowki on Business Class, Saturday, 11 p.m.
Partly cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms are expected in Metro Manila and Baguio City tomorrow. The rest of the country will also experience partly cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms. Sunrise comes at 5:44, sunset at 6:12. Actress Alma Concepcion is back from Guam, where she was jailed for possession of shabu. Concepcion flew in aboard a Cathay Pacific Airways jetliner about 2 hours ago. During her arraignment, the actress pleaded guilty to drug possession as part of a plea bargain arranged by her American lawyer. It was seen as the best way to reduce whatever sentence is handed down by the judge handling the case. Her sentencing is due in October. The movie industry mourns the death of popular comedian Babalu, who passed away at 2:30 this morning. Pablo Sarmiento, in real life, Babalu's death came 13 days after his arrival from the United States. He went abroad to get chemotherapy for cancer of the liver, which was the reason why he underwent surgery last February. Doctors at St. Luke's Medical Center gave him 5 months to live. Babalu's remains lie in state at the Santo Domingo Church, from which he will be brought to the Loyola Memorial Park in Parañaque for interment on Sunday.
In sports, heads of all national sports associations were told today to either perform well or resign. The call was issued by Senate Sports Committee Chairman Robert Jaworski, who lamented the apparent lack of direction and poor performance of NSAs under the Philippine Olympic Committee. Meanwhile, Jaworski said a second-place finish for the Centennial team in the Bangkok Asiad should be enough to make the country proud.
Unifying and identifying force that can make us work together so that then we could have pride by winning.
Centennial team head coach Tim Cohn still believes his Wards can beat defending champion China in the Asian Games in Bangkok. Cohn's statement of confidence came after the visiting Chinese quintet brought down the Centennial team 78-17 last night's exhibition game at the Araneta Coliseum. The visitors got a couple of three-pointers from point guard Lee Xiao-yong for a 10-3 start and never looked back. Cohn's assistant coach Chot Reyes also expressed confidence that the RP Nationals will perform well in December. Once again, the headlines: employers meet to ensure that workers are able to keep their jobs amid the current economic crisis. President Estrada declares his support for Defense Secretary Orly Mercado and his running feud with generals. The government signs a new accord with the More Islamic Liberation Front in Sultan Kudarat. That's it for the PrimeCast of NewsWatch Tonight. I'm Eric Eloriaga.
And I'm Thelma Aranda Sugay.
Thanks for watching. Good night.